Hello viewers and welcome to my new video. Today I'm going to be talking to you about first time mixing with studio monitors. So I had this other video when I was unboxing my studio monitors, and these are the ones right behind me. These are Rocket 5s and you know, initially what I did, when I bought them, I was almost ready, or at least I thought that I was ready with the release of my album, and at that time I had everything mixed and mastered, and what I actually did was I just simply checked the actual recordings through these studio monitors, just to make sure that you know, I did a good job and everything was right and had the right levels and the mix was right and especially comparable to other professionally released tracks. So I did that comparison at that time, and it turned out that, at least to my liking, it sounded all good. Obviously I spent long hours you know, polishing all that through my headphones, and by the time that I got around to checking everything on the studio monitors, actually turned out that I didn't make any adjustments to what I already did through my headphones. And it was really interesting, and this is what my uncle Jacek told me when he watched my other videos about mixing with headphones. He basically said to me that the job would be much more faster if I was to use studio monitors for mixing. So this was one of the tests that I actually had an opportunity to do this time, because this new track I've recently released called No to War, basically I've used only the studio monitors to mix and also to master that track. I actually decided not to use headphones whatsoever. I'm going to make a different video about what they actually sound like and go into a bit more detail with it. But for today, I just wanted to give you my initial observations on how fast I was able to do things, and also the key differences that I noticed by myself without reading anybody else's article, in terms of the differences between the headphones and the studio monitors. Okay, so the first thing is, I need to agree with Jacek actually that yes, the work was actually much faster. Now, I am unable to actually tell you whether this was because I fairly recently finished a very intense work on my album, and you know, I still had that all the experience that I just took from that, that I was just able to apply swiftly and quickly to this new project, or was it because I was using studio monitors as opposed to headphones? However, I have a feeling, you know, sort of inside me, that tells me that the studio monitors had a lot to play in this. And the reason I'm saying that was, I'm going to tell you the key factors that actually contributed to that. Well, first of all, it seemed to me that I was able to compare the two or more tracks together more easily. So for example, when I was listening to reference tracks and then to my own track, I felt like I was able to very quickly understand where things were in terms of the mix in those commercially released tracks, and then I was able to very quickly get my track as close as possible to those other reference tracks, you know. So that's the first observation that I made. In terms of making decisions as well, I also felt like I was able to make decisions a lot quicker without going sort of back and forth on myself, you know, like, so for instance, when I was mixing previously with headphones, I would listen to stuff on the headphones, and I would say for example volume, you know, I would adjust the volume of each individual instrument and then the vocal, so to kind of strike the right balance between them. But then when it came to say then I would listen to my stereo sound system at home, and then something wouldn't be quite right, like the bass would be too loud or that kind of thing, or something was not quite there, especially when I compare that to the reference tracks at the time, or I would take it to my car and then, you know, I wouldn't be quite happy, you know, so then I would have to go back and almost like sometimes think about how it sounded on a different system, and then sort of compare it, sort of put the headphones on and almost ignore what I was hearing through the headphones on occasions, and then sort of imagine that how it would be if I was listening to it on that sort of sound system, and then adjust it accordingly, you know. So for instance, when I had it say on the sound system, say I felt like the bass was too loud compared to some of the reference tracks, I may have just decided, like, at that time I'm going to turn it down, say by 2 decibels. So I came back, you know, turned it down and then listened to it again. So using studio monitors, I feel that that's definitely cut down the amount of times that, you know, or even, you know, completely that kind of exercise, you know, going back and forth on myself, you know, second guessing myself and things like that. So that's definitely the case. I felt like I was able to adjust the volume of each individual instrument, but also I was able to kind of, you know, with EQ for example as well, that kind of seemed like I got where I wanted to get much quicker. You know, again, I was under a lot of pressure with this song because I wanted to release it ASAP. Due to the situation, you know, that what the subject of the song that I was writing about, and the fact that I wanted to raise some money for charity as well. So I didn't have much time, but I would say that definitely so I was under pressure, but I think that using the studio monitors allowed me to get to my goal a lot quicker from that perspective. So Jacek, I'm going to tell you, you know, you were absolutely right about that. So thank you for that advice and that recommendation, because that's definitely working as you said. I also think that using, and I already read this in the article when I was making my other video about, you know, studio monitors versus headphones, that the stereo spectrum, I was able to hear better, almost, or more in a more kind of natural way, where things were. So as I was panning things, you know, left and right, and, you know, various different places, it sort of became more apparent, I think, from that perspective than if I was kind of doing that on the headphones. Because of course, when you use headphones, it's not quite what they say true stereo, because effectively what you get is you get the sound into one ear and then sound into the other ear, and then there's nothing in between. So of course, when you listen to things through speakers, you basically get the full stereo image, which is in front of you, and kind of think kind of melt together more. They're not as isolated, so you kind of see that broad spectrum of, so you hear that broad spectrum of sound a lot better in a way. And I felt like when I was doing it, when I was mixing with studio monitors, it allowed me to pick up where things were and how me making certain decisions in terms of panning, what effect those decisions would have, and that was kind of very apparent and very fast for me to get that. So in terms of the decision-making process, applying of certain plugins, and even the same goes for compression, you know, how what effect these plugins had on my mix, I felt like it was a lot easier and quicker to get to that place, and the overall sort of, you know, sound I could understand a lot better. So even when I was doing mastering afterwards, you know, I was able to pick up very quickly the subtle differences. So for example, the EQ, when I was EQing my master track, I was able to hear what was happening in the reference track, and then very quickly adjust that in my own master. But what I would also say, and this is really interesting, as I was kind of maybe, you know, started listening to music on these studio monitors, you know, comparing that experience of listening music on them versus your usual, you know, home sound system that you would listen to music on, what I really noticed that these studio monitors, they really pick up all the like they almost sound bad in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but they kind of emphasize all the negative aspects of the sound. So you kind of understand. So I think the outcome of that is that when you use them for your mix, you get to a point where you can hear all the things that you may not like, and you make them sound really good, but on a system that picks up all the things that don't sound that great. So you make them sound great, and through doing that, I think that makes it sound even better on a normal sort of usual, you know, your home stereo sound system, and I think that's a great advantage, you know, the fact that they pick up all these things, you know, that you may not like, you know. For example, I don't know, it might be anything. It might be that you just accidentally hit a string or something when it's really kind of in your face, and you can hear it very clearly, so you can eliminate those things very quickly from your mix. So that's it for today's video. Those are my initial general observations that I wanted to share with you, and like I said, I'm going to try and attempt to make a video in which maybe you can hear some of those differences. I'm not sure how to do that yet, but I will think about it. But if you have any suggestions or any comments whatsoever about the subject of today's video, or maybe you disagree with me and you think that headphones are much better than studio monitors for overall mixing and mastering, then please let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in my next video.